got you guys. It's episode 38 of War Stories, and without further ado, I'm gonna get straight to it. So check this out, you guys. I'm gonna take you back to a time when an incident took place in the Mendocino County Jail. There was actually 3 incidents that took place while I was in that jail. However, I'm gonna talk about one right now, and I'll tell you guys about the other 2 during other episodes of War Stories. But this was the most serious of the 3. Now, earlier when I was thinking about how to tell you guys this story, I thought about telling you guys from the time I paroled from San Quentin all the way up until when I hit Ukiah, and, just everything that happened from that point on, because I want you guys to understand the severity of the situation that I was in. These people had a bad taste in their mouth about me paroling out there. They obviously knew about my history. They knew who I was, and it was almost like this parole officer was taking it personal. He came to pick me up with belly chains and shackles. And I'm just going to say this. Later on, I would find out that that was just his personal trip, because he was just tripped out about having to pick me up, this big time NF member that was going to come out there and destroy their community. But the thing was, the thing that I really tripped on when I seen him walk in with these shackles and these belly chains is every time during the 1990s when it came time for me to parole, it was always bittersweet. I was happy that I was going home, but I was stressed the fuck out because I'd always worry about something coming up, a county filing charges on me, me getting pulled in a case, some type of, I was deeply involved in criminal activity out there in different counties, different areas. So I was always worried about something coming up that was going to come and bite me in the ass. Now, Operation Black Widow had just broke in 1999. So when I first seen those chains, I was like, fuck, that's it. It's over. It's a wrap, man. Because I knew that I was being looked at as being part of that case, being associated with that case, at least on a conspiracy. But like I said, come to find out, he was just on his own trip. So I was thinking about running you guys through that, but I've talked about this extensively in other war stories, I believe even in Inner Demons. But the reason I wanted to go back that far is because I wanted you guys to understand the circumstances that I was in, the severity of it. These people did not want me out there in Mendocino County. They had it in their minds, for whatever reason, that I was going to come out there and just completely destroy their community. I was going to come out there and recruit, and, there was going to be gang members that were going to be posting up on the corners out there. He told me, I remember something that he told me when we were driving up there. And it's like, during the drive up there, we hadn't talked for like the first 15, 20 minutes. And this fool even had me ride in the back seat. He wouldn't even let me ride in the front seat. He shackled me up, put belly chains on me, and put me in the back seat. But we're driving up to Ukiah, and I'm not tripping off him. I'm like, fuck, this dude's tripping. Whatever his trip is, I'm not gonna sweat it. I'm checking out the scenic route. We're driving up the coast, and I'm just tripping off the scenery. But all of a sudden, I look at him out of my peripheral, and he says, "You just dropped in our lap. We didn't even want you out here. And, we don't want that in our community. We still sleep with our windows and our doors unlocked. We had one drive-by last year, and it was done with a pellet gun. We're just not that type of community." Like, this dude was taking it personal, but, they were on a good one. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it any more than that right there. I just want you guys to understand the circumstances of the situation I was in, because it dictated some of the moves I was making. Whenever I had to make moves up there, or whenever I was getting ready to do something, it had to be calculated, because I knew if I slipped up, these people were going to pounce on me. And they did everything but tell me, we want to be the ones to make sure that you get a life case. And they wanted to be the ones to send me. When I did catch a case up there in Mendocino County, when I was going to my preliminary hearing, the parole officers were literally coming in the courtroom during the prelim, feeding information to the district attorney, trying to amp up the case. So that's how it was. I was in a bad situation. I knew I was in a bad situation. And, let me say this one last thing. For you youngsters out there that are thinking about getting your hood blasted on your forehead, over your eyebrow, on your neck, on the back of your head, you better think twice about that. I had Nuestro Familia blasted across the back of my head. And I'll tell you this, it was a stupid move to do that. I made myself a target and I got a lot of unwanted attention when I did that. I basically put a big target on my back from law enforcement. You know, the smart ones are the ones that are not flamboyant about their status. They don't have no tattoos. They don't expose that. That's not for people to know about. And that, allows them to navigate without that unwanted attention. But the first time that I really regretted getting that tattoo is when I had that case up there and, you know, my co-defendant, he flipped the script on me and he started working against me. And from that point on, I knew exactly what they were going to do. They were going to parade me into the courtroom like this big, bad gang leader, this NF gang leader that was basically pressuring my co-defendant into trying to take the case. And that's exactly what they did. So that tattoo, it worked against me. At that time I wasn't in trial. I can imagine what it would have looked like if I would have went in front of the jury. I was just in front of the judge and the district attorney, and they were looking at me like I was a fucking monster. So think about it. I understand the whole thing about wanting to rep your status and rep your hood and all that, but later on in life, your mindset might change. You might want to go in a different direction, not necessarily dropping out or nothing like that, but it might be career orientated. It might be, you might want to go to school or something, or you just might not want that negative attention. People look at you different when you start getting tattoos, those type of eye busters like that. But anyway, let me get to the specifics of what happened. So anyway, I end up in the county jail. I'm fighting a case out there. It's a 3-strike case. I'm looking at life. However, I would end up beating the case on a 995. But during the 8-month period that I stayed in the county jail, like I said, I had 3 incidents. Now, this incident right here, actually, this was the last incident that happened. The other 2 I'll talk about in other episodes. But, so let me give you a quick rundown of like what the jail's like, and just so you guys can get an idea. So the Mendocino County Jail is different from any other jail that I've ever been to. I've been to San Francisco, Alameda, or Santa Rita. I've been to Monterey County. I've been to San Mateo County. Those are the main ones that I've been to. But they're all, these are all some bigger counties, and there's a lot of activity in those counties, and they're just ran different. A lot of those 4 right there, for the most part, with the exception of San Francisco and San Mateo, they're usually Norteño establishments. Everything's established in there. They're functioning on HHPs. Everything's established the way that it's supposed to be ran. These county jails, Frisco and San Mateo, the homies are just on some other shit. So rarely they're ran like that. But anyway, Mendocino County Jail is different because, for one, it's just all American Indians and woods. I'll say this. When I first heard that I was paroling to Mendocino County, I had a vision in my mind at first. I didn't even know where it was at, that it was someplace out in the boondocks with maybe one fucking gas station, one store, no sidewalks, and some tumbleweeds fucking rolling down the middle of the street. I thought it was way out there, like way up north, right there by Eureka. I always got those 2 mixed up. But anyway, that's the vision that I had in my mind. But it actually wasn't that bad. When I got out there, it was kind of like Santa Rosa. So Ukiah is like the main hub for all the little cities in that area. Laytonville, Hopland, Covello. There's another one out there called Willits. So Ukiah is like the main hub. These other ones are more like towns. There's a lot of trees out there. There's a lot of lakes, but Ukiah's a little city-like. So that's, it was a big change in monotony for me. I was used to being in San Francisco where there's a lot of congestion, there's a lot of diversity. You have that city stays, there's always something happening day or night. There's always something happening out there. Ukiah, you got a lot of Indian reservations out there, American Indian reservations. You have the lakes. People are barbecuing on the weekend. People are camping out there. I'm an outdoor person. I like to get outdoors and do that kind of shit. So I kind of like being out there. But the county jail, like I said, it consisted mostly of woods and American Indians. Now they got two tanks, B tank and C tank. B tank is for the older guys that been to the joint, that have done time, have done state time, and like I said, the older guys. C tank is a bunch of youngsters. Most of them are destined to prison. Some of them are going to be doing county time, but they're first termers. Now, I'll say this: the caliber of all these individuals, it's a different caliber of what I'm used to. The Woods, they're not all slung back with ink. They're not like the Nazi lowriders, the Aryan Brotherhood members, or the Sacramaniacs that I've ran into in the past. These guys are like, they're like just regular family guys that got caught maybe smacking their wife or a DUI or something like that. They're just, when it comes to prison politics, they're completely green to that stuff. They're behind. Some of the Indians, they've been around. A lot of them have done state time, but even then, they're not into those type of politics. So that's the one thing that was different about the jail. The other thing is there's hardly any Africanos there, and I wasn't used to that. The jails that I've been to, they're San Francisco, Santa Rita, there was always Africanos, but it was a trip. They're sparse out there. There's not too many that live in that community. They don't migrate up there. So that was the other thing that was different. Now, when I first hit the county jail, I get processed in. I come in and, they fingerprint me. They take my pictures. I go through the processing and all that, just like any other jail. And then I get up to the front and they have a lieutenant, and, they don't have like a gang intel or a classification committee. They just had a lieutenant, and he was like, check it out, man. So we're going to house you in B tank. We're going to put you in a one-man cell, and you're basically going to come out by yourself and get an hour of recreation every day. You'll be able to come out, take a shower. You'll be able to come out, use the phone, stretch out, do whatever you want for an hour. And, you'll get your hour every day. You'll get yard when they run yard, but you're going to be out by yourself. We don't know you. We don't know what your intentions are. We know a lot about your history through parole, but we do not know, what your intentions are, how you're going to act. So they don't know. Even the county jail administration, they're like 3 steps behind. They're not up on prison politics, but they know enough to know that me being a Norteño, me being an NF member at that time, an active NF member, that they know that in prison, we used to be allied up with Africanos, and our enemies are usually the Woods and the Sureños. So they knew that much, and it was because that there's Woods in there that they thought I was gonna have bad intentions, which I didn't. I didn't know anybody there. I didn't give a fuck. They could have let me out, and there wouldn't have been no issue. But he's telling me they're gonna keep me slammed down, and they're gonna give me everything I got coming, but that's how it's gonna be. Honestly, I wasn't expecting nothing less. Every jail I've ever hit, they've always slammed me down because of my history. Every prison that I've been to, that's how I do my time. So I wasn't tripping, and I didn't even try to argue with it. I'm like, it's all good, man. So I get housed. They end up bringing me in. I think it was at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's knocked out when I walk into the tank. They put me in a one-man cell. So the way that the tanks are the way that they're constructed is when you're at the front of the tank, it's like a big long hallway. It's like a long hallway, and you got like 5 tables down the middle where everybody sits and eats at. You got your 5 tables that are down the middle, and then on both sides they got cells, 2-man cells. Now the first 4 cells, the first 2 on this side, the first 2 on this side, they're 1-man cells that they use for guys that have high profile cases, or that they need to have separated for whatever reasons, because they're assaultive or something like that. So they put me in one of those cells. So anyway, 4 o'clock, I'm tired. I lay down, I fucking knock out. I'm like, you know what? In the morning, I'll clean this fucking cell, but it's late. You know, it's open. It's kind of like an open dorm. They're not behind solid walls or solid doors. They got mesh gates. So I start splashing around water in there. Everybody's gonna hear it. Out of respect, I threw a blanket on the bed and just laid down, covered up, just went to sleep. So in the morning, I hear the door pop, the front grill gate, and they come in with chow. So the 4 of us that are in these 1-man cells, they come in and they feed us through the tray slot. Get my tray, I inhale that shit, and then like 10 minutes later, they pop all the other doors. So, you know, I'm in the cell and I'm peeping game. I'm in the front on my bars or the mesh, whatever, and I'm just seeing who's in there. I have no idea who's in there. This is my first day. So I see that there's a bunch of Woods, bunch of Indians, American Indians, and they all come out. Some of them sit at the tables, they eat, and some of them go take their trays back to their cells. But they eat about 20 minutes later, they're gone. They're back in their cells, and they close the program back down until about 8 o'clock. So, you know, I lay back for about another hour or two. And right before they open up the program, I pop up and I start cleaning the cell. It's about 7:30. 8, everybody comes out. So, you know, I'm in the cell, I'm cleaning the cell, and a couple Woods come up and they're like, "Hey, what's going on, man?" I'm like, "What's up?" And they're like, "Hey, you ain't from out here, huh?" I'm not, "No, I'm not from out here." And so we start talking, and they're like, "Hey, man, you know, you need anything? You need books?" You know, I'm like, "Hey, I could use some cleaning supplies, man, for real. This cell is fucking filthy." So they go get me some cleaning supplies, and I start douching that fucking cell like I do. That's my anytime I go to a new cell, that's what I do. Top to bottom, that motherfucker's getting scrubbed down with the toothbrush. So I spend my morning cleaning the cell, but you know, occasionally these dudes are coming up. Some Indians come up and they introduce themselves. And you know, at some point later on in the afternoon, this one Wood comes up and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, so he introduces himself. He's like, "So why they got you locked up, man?" I'm like, "I don't know. You know, from what they told me, I think it probably had something to do with my ink work. You know, the tattoo on the back of my head. I think they don't know what my intentions are, but I ain't got no issues with anybody in there. I don't know anybody. So I'm not tripping, but that's why." So he's like, "Man, you know what? Let me go talk to the sergeant, man. I know the sergeant, the one that's working right now. He's a cool cat. Let me go see if I could put a good word in for you, right?" So I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be cool, man." Honestly, I didn't expect nothing to come of it, man. You know, they've never let me run around out there in GP with nobody. The only one time that they ever did was in Santa Rita. When I went to Santa Rita the first time I went through there, I was coming back from Monterey County, and when I went through processing or through intake, that's when the officer's classification was like, "You know what? You've never been here before. We don't know you." It's like, "I should slam you down because, you know, not too many cats come through with tattoos like that." He's like, "Tell you what, man, let me take a picture of that tattoo and I'll let you go out there and kick it with everybody, man." He's like, "I'm not tripping. You're only going to be here for a couple of days." I'm like, "Go ahead, man. Take your picture." So they let me kick it out there in the pod in Santa Rita with the homies, which was cool. But I didn't expect, to come out in this jail. So anyway, he goes and talks to whoever he goes and talks to, and like 20 minutes later, the CO comes in, the floor officer, he comes in, he's like, hey, the lieutenant wants to holler at you. So I'm like, all right. So I grab my top shirt and I follow him out. I get out there, it's a lieutenant, not the same one that I talked to when I came in that night. It's a different one. And he's like, hey man, my name's such and such. He's like, look, man, he's like, the reason we got you locked down is because we don't know you. We don't know what your intentions are. We know a lot about your history, and there's not too many cats like you that come through this jail. And if you were a local, if we knew you, it'd be different. But we don't know what your intentions are, and we don't want nobody to get hurt. We don't want to see you get in trouble. We don't want to see nobody else get hurt, and that's why we're keeping you locked up. He's like, but however, a couple of these dudes came in and asked, or they came and told us that that we should let you out, that they don't have a problem with you, and that there's no issues. And how do you feel about that? And I was like, look, man, I'm fighting a case. I don't know anybody in this jail. I've obviously never been through here before. There's no reason for you guys to be concerned about anything happening. I don't know anybody. I ain't got no issues with nobody. So he's like, all right, man, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna let you out. I'm gonna let you out with everybody, but I'm gonna tell you like this, man. If you do something to somebody, if you get caught up and somebody gets hurt in there, we're gonna file charges on you. We know you're a 3-striker, and we just don't want no problems. And I'm like, you're not gonna have no issues, man. So anyway, I go back in. The floor officer puts me back in my cell, locks the door. About 5 minutes later, I hear the lock on my door. It opens up, right? So I push on the door, door's open. I'm like, shit, I guess I'm out. So I walk out, and first thing I do is I go hit the phone. I try to get on the phone. And so I'm peeping game now. I'm seeing, how they're running their program, who's where, what's doing what. Something that I always do whenever I get into a new environment. I'm checking everything out. Who's using the shower, who's using the phone, who's sitting over here, who's posted up over there, trying to get a feel of all the schematics, how everything's set up. So the phones were wide open. The phones weren't designated. They didn't have like 2 phones for the Woods, 2 for the Indians. They're just wide open. They had a TV program where, if you wanted to watch something, you had to write it down or something, and they had TV slots and all that shit. I didn't give a fuck about that. I didn't never sat up there and watch TV. It wasn't my thing. The only time I watch TV when I'm doing time is if I'm in a cell and I have a fucking fishbowl in the cell, a TV. Fishbowl TVs, because they call them fish bowls because they're clear. But anyway, so when a TV's out in a dorm like that, I'm not the type of cat that will sit there Indian style with everybody else and watch TV. I just won't do it. So I'm not tripping on that. However, I find out that the only thing that they do have designated is the tables. So the Indians got 2 tables, the Woods got 3 tables, because there's more Woods. So eventually I get at one of their Woods. It looks like he's probably, he's got a few tags. He was a skinhead. He's been around a little bit, and I get at him and I tell him, look, check this out, man. I noticed you guys got the tables separated. You guys got designated tables. You guys are you're basically gonna have to give up one of those tables for, because I'm a Norteño, and I'm not just gonna be sitting anywhere. If I'm since I'm housed in there now, I need one of them tables. I'm not tripping off of people sitting at the table because I'm in here by myself. I don't expect to have a whole fucking table, but I'm not just gonna be on riffraff status sitting wherever there's room. So, you guys figure it out, man. Figure out which one you're gonna designate as a norteño table. So nobody has an issue with it. I get a table that's a norteño table, and like I said, I was the only norteño in there at that time. So a couple months go by. I'm in there by myself, so I don't really, I'm establishing the tank so that other norteños can come in and everything's already set up. I got a little tienda put aside. I don't have to write no HHPs because I'm in there and I'm basically functioning on my own, and I'm basically creating the policies as I go along. If other norteños come in, there's not a lot of norteños. I didn't expect a lot to come in, maybe one or two or three. So most of them would just be verbatim. Look, this is the way we're gonna do this. This is how we're gonna do the shower program. Always gonna have somebody posted up as far as the TV situation. There was policies for that. There'd be policies for that as far as suited and booted at the opening of program. The normal policies that you guys are familiar with. But there was nobody else, so I didn't need to do all that. I didn't need to create an NA app for new arrivals or none of that shit. So anyway, probably about 3 months after I was there, 3 months after I got there, a homeboy comes in, a norteño, named Freddy Galleta. Anybody from Monterey County that's watching this, you guys will probably know who he is because he's been around. Rest in peace to the homie. He passed away. I believe he was from Chole, but he was a good dude. He was hermano, and he was the first one to get there. So he gets there, I sit him down, and I kind of give him I go through the ropes with him, bro. This is what's up. And, we're dealing with some low caliber individuals. It's kickback here, bro. This county jail is like a romper room, man. So I go over everything with them. Cool. Now, the other thing that I forgot to mention to you guys is, so that's how far behind these dudes are. Nobody in there had any pieces. They didn't have weapons. The Indians didn't have theirs. The Woods didn't have theirs. It was probably the second day after they pushed in the mop bucket that I noticed that the mop bucket had the handle still attached to it. So the handle is like a big, thick bar that's bent. But, if you take that bar, you pop it off and you basically break it in half. You got two ice picks, nasty ass pieces, man, straight steel. So the first time I seen that, I pushed the bucket into my cell and I popped that off, and there you go. I had two pieces. Now I put figure eight arrow tips on them. Basically, is when you sharpen it as like a figure eight and you put those arrow tip points on them. So I had some nasty points on them too. Those things right there were hitters. If you hit somebody with either one of them, good chance of laying somebody down. Anyway, so I had those two pedazos before the homies even got there. Any of the homies got there. I had them secured, put up in one of the vents. So the next homie to come in was, we're going to call him David. It was a homeboy out of Sacramento. Good sized dude, healthy, had his little yokes on, hothead kind of dude. He was somewhat of a loose cannon, a cat that I used to have to stay on to, to kind of stop the bully tactics that he was trying to impose on, sometimes the Indians, sometimes the Woods. I wasn't going to allow that to happen in there. That's not how we get down. But, he would do things like, they had the little TV routine worked out where, like I said, they had slots. He'd just go up and just start changing the channel. And somebody had something to say. He'd dare him to fucking say something. And, he'd take him in the cell. At least that's what he wanted to do. But, one of the reasons why he was doing that, which, I kind of understood, but I still wouldn't let him do that because we don't get down like that, is So for a minute, I think I mentioned this to you guys before, but for a minute, the Indians at one point started bullying the Woods because they could. And so a lot of the Woods, there was probably 7 of them that would stand up for themselves out of about 30 of them. There was about 7 of them. Most of those, there was probably like, I think there was a crew of like 5 skinheads, and then you just had some other cats from that area that probably would have jumped if something kicked off. But the majority of them were just, they weren't with the business. So because they were doing that, homeboy was like, fuck that, man. You know what I mean? If they're gonna do that to these guys, watch what I do. And he go up and just start changing the channel. Anyway, so you had the homie David out of Sacramento. The next homie to come up to drive up was a Samoan Norteño named, we'll call him Casper. Surprisingly, I never met the dude, and he was around my age. He was from Daly City, and back in the day, Daly City, that's who we used to funk with. But I had never met him, never ran across him, but he was a solid homie too. Big dude, Samoan. He had that Samoan blood. So all Samoans are big people, man. So, we had a little crew, even though there was 4 of us, 4 solid homies is that's all you need. Just put it like that, man. So we had a tight little car, man, at one point. So Freddie Galletta, he ended up staying there for probably about a month or 2, and then he bounced. Not San Mateo, Monterey County put a hold on him and took him back to Monterey County. So he was gone. Now, I had 2 incidents. Like I said, I'm just gonna spin forward and bypass those and get to the last incident. So let me kind of lay this out for you guys. So most of my time I would spend at the card tables. Like I said, I don't watch TV. If I wasn't working out, reading, doing something in the cell, running class show with these guys or Machina, I'd be at the card table playing Knucks or poker all day. That's what I used to do. And the skinheads are the ones that I used to play pinochle with. David, a lot of times he'd be up there watching TV. Marcelli, the Samoan cat, he'd just be doing whatever, man, looking for some food. Motherfucker was always hungry. So let me say this though. So when I first got there, I told you guys I was in the observation cell. When they let me out with everybody, I got up out of that cell. As soon as the cell opened up, I moved into that cell. It was like halfway down the tier. So I moved in there. Bigger cell. And I just wanted to get away from being way up in the front. Being way up in the front too, right outside the front windows is where the cop booth is at. So they can see everything right there. I didn't want to be right there in their vision or just in that area. So I moved halfway down the tier. Now, when another cell opened up all the way in the back, the last cell on the right side, I moved into that cell. And then when the Samoan homie moved in, Casper, he celled up with me. So that's where we were at. Now, there was, like I said, I went over the policies with these guys. A lot of it had to do with just the normal stuff, but there was policies like, new individuals coming in. We obviously had to get at them to make sure that somebody didn't slide up in there that wasn't supposed to be there. And there was other policies, conduct, dealing with these other group segments, the Woods, the Indians, and things like that. Anyway, one day I'm sitting there playing pinochle, and the front door opens up, and this cat walks in. Mexican dude, Raza, probably about 42, 43. Didn't look like a banger or a rider, just looked like he'd been around, looked like he'd done some time, looked like he'd been around. I could see a couple visible tattoos on him, old ass tattoos, faded, ink running, Mickey Mouse tattoo on his bicep. I'm bullshitting. But, he had he had tattoos. So he comes in, I see him, we make eye contact. We make eye contact. He got his bedroll and all his shit, and he keeps it moving, and he goes down the tier to his cell. So he goes in the cell, puts his shit in there, and he's walking around. The first thing he does, he goes to the phone. Goes to the phone. This motherfucker's on the phone for like the next hour, constantly trying to make phone calls. Probably trying to call his parole officer, trying to let his girl know he's locked up, like everybody does when they first get there. Trying to get the parole hold dropped on him. So he's up there in the front, but I'm watching him. He's new. Plus, he's a raza, so that's our responsibility to get at him at some point. But I don't trip on it at the time. I'm playing pinochle, so it's about 11 o'clock, right before lunch. And that's the other thing about Mendocino County. Most of the county jails and the prisons that I've been to, they give you 2 hots and a cold lunch. You'll get a breakfast and either a bag lunch or a box lunch, and then they'll give you a hot dinner. Mendocino County give you 3 hot meals a day, soup and sandwiches, like almost like fucking every day, which was cool. But this is the thing. So when the 2 homies came in, nobody was allowed to sit at our table now. The ones that I was allowing to sit there, some of the Indians, but because there's other Norteños in there now, they had to respect that. Everybody had their designated area. That's how it goes. So they come in with breakfast, and everybody starts going up to the front, getting their trays. I go up, I grab mine, the other 2 homies go grab theirs. We post up at our table. We're eating. Now, this cat, since he's been in there, he's chopping it up with some woods, and he's on the phone. When he's not on the phone, he's chopping it up with these guys, which is cool. There ain't no red flags. There ain't nothing about that. They're talking to him, and for whatever reason, matter of fact, he moved in a cell with the woods. So that's my mind. I was like, that's probably why he's chopping it up with them. So he goes up and he gets his tray. And instead of coming and sitting at our table, he walks right by our table and goes and sits with the woods. Now, when he does that, that's when a red flag went up, because, at least it piqued my interest, because it's obvious that the raza had a table. Why wouldn't you go sit at the table with the raza? Instead, you can see that the woods got their tables, the Indians got their tables, but you go and sit with the woods. So something about that, it piqued my interest. Like I said, red flags kind of went up. But then again, I was thinking, you know what? Maybe he felt comfortable with these guys. He had, had a little rapport. He was building a little rapport with the dudes he was talking to. So cool. We'll get at him and we'll let him know that's not how we do it, though, right? Now, I didn't get at him when he first came in because for one, I was playing cards, but for two, he just came in, and he didn't try to get at me. He didn't try to get at none of the homies. He went straight for the phone, and he was chopping it up with the woods. And I'm the type of cat that, especially in a prison or a county jail environment, that if you're antisocial and you ain't got nothing to say to me, I'm not gonna approach you. It'll take me a while to warm up to you. That's just the way I am. However, I had a responsibility, though, at that time. I was the OA there, and I had to find out who this dude was. So anyway, when this guy sat at the table with the woods, I tell my cellie, Casper, I tell him, hey, bro, at some point, get at the dude and see what his trip is, bro. See what get his name and see what his story is, bro. Find out what you can about him. You know the drill. So he already knew what to do. Get his name, his hood, his AKA, the basics. I didn't have a BNL or none of that. I didn't need one up there. I didn't know anybody I didn't know that many homies out there in that area to know that kind of stuff. So everything was pretty much, I kind of had to feel my way around out there dealing with that kind of those kind of security issues. Anyway, so after lunch, once lunch is done, you know, we put our trays up in the front, they pick up the garbage and they take off. I go back to my pinochle game. We resume our game. Now, David goes up to the front, back in front of the TV. My celly Casper, he goes up there somewhere. And you know, at one point I'm watching them and I see him approach this individual. They shake hands, they're talking. I'm always scanning the tier. You know, I'm always watching, especially in those type of environments, prison, jail. I'm just security conscious. It's something that it's a habit I picked up from prison, and that's one that I still do to this day. I'm always looking around, checking out my surroundings, everything that's going on around me. So I see them talking. Then I see Casper, you know, they walk by the table and Casper keeps walking down to the cell, and then that guy, he goes back up to the phones. So a couple minutes later, Casper peeks out the cell. He's like, B, he's like, come here, bro. So I'm like, hold up, man. Let me finish this hand real quick. So we finished playing our hand, and I tell these woods, I'm like, hold up, give me a minute, man. Let me just go rap to the homie real quick. These woods already knew something was up. All the woods knew at that point because this dude had went and obviously was sitting with them and talked with them. So they knew something that I didn't know. Later on, I would find out that they were already like, they knew something was up, but I would find out in a minute. So, because when I got up to go, one of the woods was like, hey, Pete, what's up, man? He was like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, hold up, I'll be back though. So I go down to the cell and Casper goes, hey, check it out, bro. He's like, homeboy, you ain't gonna believe this, bro. And I'm like, what's up? And he goes, bro, homeboy is a fucking sureño. He's a Southsider, bro. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man. He ain't no sureño. He's like, homeboy, I'm telling you, bro, straight up, I'm not bullshitting. Homeboy's a Southsider. He's a real Southsider. This motherfucker he's from San Bernardino County. I go, how do you know that? What did he say, bro? He goes, homeboy, look, bro, when I went up to him and, you know, I'm like, hey, what's up, homie? He was like, hey, what's your name, bro? He's like, what's your name? Where you from? He's like, he goes, check it out, bro. He goes, look, he goes, tell your homeboy if he wants to know where I'm from, he can come ask me. But he goes, you know what, bro? He goes, but I'll tell you. He's like, he goes, my name's such and such. He goes, I'm from San Bernardino County. And he goes like this. He goes, check it out, bro. He goes, I'm just gonna tell you guys like this. I don't know what you guys got planned. I don't know what's going on. Because I'm not worried about it, but I'm gonna tell you like this. Whatever you guys are gonna do, I'm not clocking out. That's what he said. He said, I'm not clocking out. You know, I'm a Southsider, bro. I'm a fully functioning Southsider. I've done a lot of time, but I don't roll like that. So whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. Casper was like, it's all good, man. You know, I'm not asking you for nobody else. I'm asking you for me. I was just wondering where you're from, bro. So when the homeboy tells me this, you know, I look at it as like, for one, I respect that. I respect the fact that this dude's a stand-up cat. For one, Sureño, whatever he was about, he was a stand-up dude. He's in a Northern County jail. He comes in, they put him in GP, and instead of trying to play paisa or trying to act like he's not a Sureño, he's straight representing what he believes in. And I respect that. As a man, I respect that. Shout out to all you Southsiders. You guys already know, man. And you guys know that if I would ever go to the LA County Jail, I get murphed up in that motherfucker, man. So it is what it is, but you guys already know what time it is, man. Anyway, so you know, I respect that, but at the same time, you know, I took the lug or the comment that he made, I kind of took it personal, that as a personal challenge, that he directed that at me. And maybe he thought because the homies is Samoan that I sent him, and instead of doing it myself, whatever the case was, he still said what he said, and it was an issue that it was gonna have to get addressed. Now, I just kind of told the homie, I'm like, all right, bro, it's all good. Let me finish this game, and I'm gonna get at you guys and let you know how we're gonna deal with it, right? So I just wanted to take you back to the table and kind of just think about how I wanted to play this. Now, that's why I wanted to tell you guys in the beginning of the situation I was in. For one, it was clear when I went out to Ukiah that these guys wanted to wash me up. Everything that was happening out there, you guys don't even know the half of it. I'm just telling you the bits and pieces. But I wanted you to understand the severity of the circumstances I was in, because if I made the wrong move out there and I put myself in the wrong kind of situation, these guys would jump on it, jump on that opportunity to wash me the fuck up. And that's what they would have done. Believe that. I had to think about, the dude couldn't stand the tank. That was off the top. That was clear. But I just had to think. So there's three ways I can deal with this. For one, I could send the homies to just get rid of him. But he's in his 40s. The dude was probably like 5'10". He's probably like 190 pounds. An average dude, average size dude. So probably didn't even need to send two cats on. I could have sent either Casper or David, and they would have smashed him and got him up out of there. So I could either have the homies get rid of him, I could let him stay and, slide through because he wasn't a threat, which wouldn't have happened. I'm just giving you all three scenarios. Or I could deal with it myself and lead by example, which I've always done. Now, again, option number two isn't an option because, for one, it's not so much about what other people would have thought about me, what the Woods would have thought about me, or the Indians, because they knew I was heavily affiliated, and they would have probably been like, damn, these guys let a Southsider, stay housed in here and they didn't do nothing to him. It's not about that. It's just the politics, which I was very familiar with, just that wouldn't have been the right move, the right choice to make to allow him to exist in there. He had to go. Now, he wasn't going to go the easy way. He made that clear. He already let that be known. So he's gonna have to get smashed. So there's only two options from there. Either I take care of it or the homies take care of it. I chose to take care of it myself based on the fact that, he made that comment. And like I said, it kind of bothered me that he addressed that he took that shot. So anyway, when we finish our pinochle game, so I sit the two homies down and I tell them, look, this is how we're gonna deal with it. I wanted Casper to get at the dude and to basically tell him, like, look, bro, look, nobody's tripping on you in here. We're all older cats. This county jail is a lot different from any of the other county jails. We're all just passing through here. Nobody's going to push up on you. We're not tripping. Just don't push your politics in here. We're not going to push ours. Also, get him in the cell. You need to get him down there in the cell. However you got to do it. Ask him if he smokes. If he does, tell him you got frows and you'll blaze with him. If he doesn't, tell him you got some black. If you don't smoke, tell him you got some black, and you'll hook him up a little bit. When you get him in the cell, I'll take care of it from that point on, bro. So I told David I wanted him to post up in the front. That's where you can see the cops in the booth up in the front through the window. And if anybody comes through the front door, I wanted him to give us a signal so that we would know. So You know, when I told the homies I was gonna take care of it, both of them were like, nah, bro, you know, hey, B, come on, man. There's no reason why you need to take care of it. David was like, bro, let me just smash him. Let me just knock this motherfucker out, bro. I'll knock all his fucking teeth out and have him up out of here, bro. Like in the first thing smoking, you know what I'm saying? No, just let me do it. And I'm like, nah, bro, no, 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 no. You know, it's like I've always been the type of C to, you know, instead of just sitting back barking orders, I've always been the type of C to either lead by example or at least, at the very least, I want to participate so that the homies can see, hey, this is the type of motherfucker that gets down in the trenches with us. He's not that type of C that he thinks he's better than the rest of us, or that he don't have to do nothing, or he can sit back on his perch and just and fucking bark orders at us all day. Nobody respects that. I've always been like that. And anybody that's ever done time with me knows that and will confirm that. That's always been me. So anyway, you know, at the end of the day, they don't have no choice but to go with what you know, the choice that I already made. I'm not going to sit there and debate with them. I know they both wanted to do it because, you know, they had that respect, and that's all good. But no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to take care of it, and we're not going to pack this dude out. We're not going to pack him out. I'm going to take care of him by myself. So, you know what I mean? Just let me do my thing. Anyway, so everything's set. I go to this one Indian that I used to always play chess with, and so we start playing chess. I tell Casper at one point, hey, whenever you're ready to do that, go ahead and do it, bro. I'm gonna watch you, so I'll know when you're down there. So go ahead and do your thing. So one point I'm watching Casper, and he's up in the front, and then you know the dude's on the phone, so he waits. And when the dude finally hangs the phone up, I see Casper approach him, and they're talking. And then I see him walking back. They're walking slow, but they're walking back towards us, towards the back of the tank. So, and we're playing chess, and when they get like right here in front of us, I know they're right there. I don't make eye contact with the dude because I don't want him to see nothing in my eyes or any kind of body language or anything that he would, you know, determine that he picked up on some bad vibes or something. I'm pretty good at you know, sliding up under somebody like that. I know all the fucking tactics and all that shit. I can spot them a mile away, and I'm pretty good at keeping mine, you know, on the slunders. So, but still, you know, I'm still acting like I'm focused on my chess game, and I'm not even tripping on them, man. But I see him pass in front of us. So we're playing chess, and at one point, they get down to the cell, but this dude's hanging out in front of the cell. He's not inside the cell where I want him to be. He's right there in front, kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So anyway, I'm waiting. We're playing chess. I look up at David. He's up in the front, just posted. And, you know, I look back, I keep looking down there, and then he's in the cell, but he's leaning up against the doorway. He's like literally halfway in. All he's got to do is just lean back, and he can see. If I was to walk down there right now, there's no doubt in my mind that as soon as I got within like 10 feet, he'd probably turn around, just sensing that somebody's walking up. I wanted him to get up in there so he wouldn't see me coming until it was too late. He wouldn't be able to come up out of that motherfucker, man. So I wait, we're playing, and then he goes in the cell. I know that that's my cue right there. So when he goes in, I tell the cat that I'm playing chess with, I'll be back, man. I get up and I walk up again as close to the wall as I can. So I want to creep on this dude. So when I get down to the cell, as soon as I get almost like right in front of the cell, I look around the corner and I see the dude standing. He's like 2 feet into the cell with his back turned. And I come up behind him and I push him as hard as I could push him. When I push him, he goes flying across the cell and he hits the wall. When he hits the wall, he hits the floor too. He hit the wall and he goes down. Casper, like simultaneously, I see him walk by. He exits the cell. He gets up out of there. You guys already know what's coming next, so I get on the dude. So I'm on the dude. I'm drilling him, and again, I'm not trying to sound tough, man, but I was too strong for him. I was 29 years old at that time in 1999. I'm a lot bigger than him. I probably got like 60 pounds on the motherfucker, man. And I was just too strong for him. He tried to fight back. Matter of fact, when I was on him and I'm drilling him, when I was drilling him, I remember this dude started talking to me while we're fighting. I remember him saying, "Why'd you have to snake me when I had my back turned, bro? Oh, you want to play that game, huh?" I don't even respond to him. I just keep going in on. So anyway, I'm tired now. I'm tired. I'm young. I'm healthy. I'm doing burpees like a motherfucker up in there, but still, I'm still out of breath. So I'm on top of this motherfucker and I'm not letting him get up. He's trying to get up. He's like, "Get up off me, man. Get up off." So I'm on top of him and I wait for a minute, catch my breath, and I kept going in on him. Well, as I'm going in on him, so me and Casper earlier that day, we had two weights in there, two dumbbells that we used to. I've told you guys before how we don't have weights in prison or in the county jails. A lot of times we'll use water bags or we'll take our legal work and our books and magazines and we'll tie up a weight. And when I used to make my weights, I would make the blocks and I'd tie a t-shirt around them or a sheet, and then I would roll up paper so I'd have a big thick handle that I could use to wrap through the sleeves, and then I would take strips of sheet and tie it around the handle part of it. Well, that morning, me and Casper, we ended up taking the weights apart because the handles got loose. They got loose and they started falling apart. So we unwrapped them and we were gonna rewrap them. This was during the first lockup after breakfast. So we unwrapped them, and then later on we were gonna wrap them, but they popped the doors open. So we're like, we'll fucking do it later. So anyway, as I'm sitting on top of this motherfucker, man, Casper is standing in the doorway. Solid ass homeboy. Got a lot of love for the homie. I told him that we weren't gonna pack this dude out, but Casper comes up in the cell and he reaches up under the bunk and he grabs some of the strips of sheet and he tries to wrap them around this dude's throat. He tries to wrap him around his neck like he's gonna choke this motherfucker out. So he's trying to get him around his neck, and this dude's fighting. He's fighting, thinking that he's probably thinking like these motherfuckers trying to kill me now, man. Anyway, he gets him around the dude's neck. I'm on it. I'm sitting on this motherfucker. I'm straddling this dude, and he can't get me off him. I weigh too much. I wasn't fat at that time like I am right now, but I was too heavy for him. So homeboy's wrapping this shit around his neck and he starts choking him. This dude's trying to grab the fucking sheet. And what I didn't tell you guys is, when I sat at the table and I started thinking about my options, one of the things I thought about were the two knives that I had put up. I've told you guys before that as an NF member, I've never been a fan of hands-on discipline. Anytime, somebody needed to get removed or hit, it should always be done with a weapon. And as an NF member, I've always promoted perazos instead of razors. So, I just beat my 3-strike case. I thought about hitting this dude with those pieces. If I would have been in San Francisco County Jail, Monterey, San Mateo, Santa Rita, I would have hit him with the piece. But because I was where I was at, it really did dictate some of the choices I was making. I thought, you know what, if I hit this dude, I'm definitely gonna catch a case. So this was the whole reason for me telling you about the parole officer in the beginning, because I wanted you guys to understand, was it worth it? Was it worth me catching the case, stabbing this 40-something-year-old dude and picking up a case, maybe even a hot one? Those things right there would have laid somebody down. I'm telling you. I didn't think so. This was a situation where I made a choice that wasn't a typical choice that I would have made, in other situations. So I decided not to use the weapons. Now, when I was sitting there at the table, I had a feeling that something bad was going to happen. That I didn't know what it was, but I felt like I didn't know what was going to happen. Maybe I was going to hit this motherfucker the wrong way. He was going to fall, hit his head, but I felt like something was going to happen. I felt it in the pit of my stomach, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Now, I know that, in the past, whenever it was time to make sacrifices, the way I was educated is we're never supposed to sit there and dwell off the consequences of, sacrifices, meaning time, meaning, how it might affect us adversely. But let's be realistic. We all think about those consequences. We all do. Somebody that's 2 weeks to the house that wouldn't think about it, you're lying if you're going to tell me that you wouldn't think about it. Now, it doesn't mean that that's going to stop you, but you're going to think about it, and it's all about making the right choices, man. Regardless of that, you got to make the right choices based on the circumstances. And that's what I was doing. But when homeboy grabbed those sheets and wrapped them around his cat's throat, I remember thinking that I knew something bad was going to happen, man, and we're taking it too far. This dude's not worth fucking catching a body over, man. But I let him do his thing, man. I let him do his thing. And at one point, I was going to stop him. But what happened was, he gets the sheet around this dude's throat and he's fucking pulling as hard as he can pull. And at one point, the fucking sheet rips. It rips, and the dude, the dude almost looked like he was almost gonna pass out. Look, his fucking eyes was bulging. The motherfucker turned purple. Homeboy reaches up under there, grabs another handful of sheets, and tries to wrap it around. Now this dude's fighting. He's probably, in his mind, he's probably like, I need to fight literally for my life. These dudes are trying to kill me. When homeboy's trying to wrap the sheets around him, I hear David say, hey, you told us that the SEALs were coming through the front. So there was an Indian up in the front cell that was on medication, and they were coming in to do pill call. So homeboy is he's still trying to get the sheet around him. He gets it around him and he's choking him. And I tell him, hey, bro, the SEALs are coming in. They're doing fucking pill call. So he takes the sheet off the dude's neck and he throws it up on top of his bunk. He throws it up on the top. As soon as he does that, this dude starts yelling at the top of his lung, come on, motherfuckers, come on. I pop up, I get up off him. Casper gets up off him, walks out. He walks out of the cell. I stay in the cell. This dude's still in the cell, but he's yelling as loud as he can yell. And I know that he did that, for one, to get us off him, but for two, to get the fucking CO's attention. He was listening. He was still conscious when homeboy said that the COs were coming in for pill call. So he's yelling. Fucking CO comes in, he knows something's happening. They start coming in. They start coming back down there to where we're at now. Now they come in and there's two of them. They come I think the first one got on the radio and had another one come in. I was in the cell. So meanwhile, when I get off this dude, you know, I'm not going at him no more. I'm on the other side of the cell, but I'm still trying to catch my breath. We were still just on this dude, but I'm still breathing hard. I'm trying to slow my breathing down so that these motherfuckers don't know we're fighting. But this dude's yelling like a motherfucker, man. Anyway, the SEAL comes up. He's like, "Hey, what's going on, man?" He tells dude, he's like, "Come here, man. Get out." He's like, "Get up on the wall," because this dude's still, "Come on, motherfucker." So, I'm in my cell acting like nothing's happening, but the dude's lumped up and he's bleeding. So they come in and they cuff me up. Well, they start walking this dude out. They don't get Casper. Casper walked out of the cell. They didn't see him. They just seen me and him in the cell. So they obviously knew we were fighting. But they had this dude walking. I'm watching him, and there was actually a piece of the sheet was still stuck in his shirt. It was hanging out the back of his shirt. Now, the dude didn't tell because I didn't get written up for nothing like that. I was thinking when they put me up in the front, they put me in an attorney room to just, they put him in one, they put me in another. I'm thinking, fuck, bro. I'm probably gonna end up getting attempted murder. This motherfucker's gonna fucking tell him what was going on, and he had a strip of sheets still hanging on him. Maybe he didn't tell him nothing. I got moved to the annex. They moved me over there for 5 days. They put me on 5-day lockup, and eventually they brought me back. They didn't bring that dude back. I don't know where they housed him, what they did with him, but he didn't tell. He didn't tell. He kept it. He kept it G as far as that goes, man. But that was a situation that happened. Like I said, that was the most serious of the 3 situations that happened, and it could have been worse. I don't know what would have happened if the CO wouldn't have came in and did pill call. Because I was letting Casper do what he was doing, and I was holding the dude down. I was waiting, but I could have waited too long before I would have told him, "Hey, stop, bro." But anyway, I dodged the bullet. I dodged the bullet. That situation, like I said, it could have been a lot worse, man. It could have been a lot worse. The other thing that I want to say is these COs, the lieutenants, the administration that worked in that jail, what I didn't understand is they obviously they had to have known that this dude was a Southsider. I didn't understand how they could put him in the tank, knowing that these dudes were worried about me getting into it with the white dudes. But they put a Southsider in there, knowing unless this dude didn't tell him something up in the front, which I don't believe. Honestly, I don't know where they housed Sureños in that county jail. I thought there was a tank up front where they put them, but not too many Southsiders came through that jail either. So anyway, this was a quick one, man. It was one that I wanted to get out to you guys. Shout out to the 2 homies, man, David and Casper. I hope you guys, I don't know where they're at. Freddie Gaeta, he passed away, like I told you guys. Rest in peace to the homie. But if you guys ever watch this, if you guys ever tap in, man, drop a comment. Nothing but love. Anyway, this your boy B. This episode 38. I'm gonna drop a couple more war stories for you guys, man, and I'm out.